He liked eating rice. James and John is Jesus' disciples. I love watching. Oh, come. I am qualified for a knock now. Huh? What did I just say? Please don't listen to that. Don't say that at home. He liked eating rice. James and John is Jesus' disciples. I love watching football. What a nonsense. These are grammatical blunders. No wonder I was hiding my face when I was saying that, that nonsense. Please don't listen to that again. You're very wrong. The question now is, what are the correct forms of the sentences that I made? You are welcome to our basic English language class. In today's video lesson, I'll be teaching you the law of Concord, also known as subject-verb agreement. English language is a language we learn. Alright, so very important for us to continue to improve our knowledge of English language. Alright, whenever there are errors and we find out those errors, we have to correct them. One of them is getting to know the law of Concord, because these two sets of rules generally are going to help us correct those wrong sentences that I made. Alright? Remember that in our past classes, I already introduced verbs to you, and then we have learned what verbs are. I've also taught you about the general classification of verbs. We have that which we call the lexical verbs. Lexical verbs are also known as main verbs or action verbs. I've also taught you about auxiliary verbs, which we also call helping verbs. You would also remember that I have taught you about verbs which are referred to as singular verbs, and those we call what? Plural verbs. We said that singular verbs, they end with an S. Plural verbs do not end with an S. And so today, we are going to extend our knowledge to see how we can make correct sentences, especially considering the subject of a sentence and the verb that it takes immediately after it. When we talk about the verbs that it takes immediately after it, I am referring to lexical verbs generally and primary auxiliary verbs. Please take note. I repeat, I am referring to lexical verbs, that is, main verbs. And the auxiliary verbs there that we are going to talk about are primary auxiliary verbs, not modal auxiliary verbs. Because somehow, modal auxiliary verbs do not follow these two sets of rules generally that the law of Concord is going to teach us today. Let's get to business. The law of Concord, what is it all about? Please, let's take a look at what we have on the board. In English, the law of Concord, also known as subject-verb agreement, gives the guidelines on the use of singular and plural verbs in agreement with nouns and pronouns as subject of a sentence. You see, when you make a sentence, generally, a sentence has three parts. One of the parts, which is the beginning, is known as the subject of the sentence. The subject of a sentence is always a noun or a pronoun, and it can either be singular or plural. The second part of a sentence is the verb part, also known as the predicate. The verb part or the predicate part simply are verbs. And then we have the ending part, which is the object part. Although it is not all sentences that have object, but for a full sentence, we have object there. The object is the ending part, which also could be a noun or what? A pronoun. It can also be singular or plural. So, according to the law of Concord, when you make a sentence, your subject, the subject of the sentence you used, how does it connect? How does it agree with the verb, the lexical verb, or the primary auxiliary verb that follows it immediately? That is just what the law of Concord is all about. Now, this law of Concord, which is also known as subject-verb agreement, it suggests two rules for us, and I'm quickly going to tell you about these rules. We don't have examples yet. I just want you to know the rules, and then next we'll pick each of the rules and then look at examples under them. The first rule we have here is that which talks about singular nouns or pronouns. When you use a singular noun or pronoun in a sentence, immediately after it, which verb will it take? The law of Concord, subject-verb agreement, says that it is going to take singular lexical verb or singular auxiliary verb. Remember, I've told you the auxiliary verb there we are considering are the primary auxiliary verbs. So simply put, if the subject of your sentence is a singular noun or a singular pronoun, the verb it will take immediately after it is also expected to be a singular lexical verb, also known as main verb, or a singular auxiliary verb, also known as helping verb. So the idea is very simple. Singular subject, singular verb. So can we correct that grammatical mistake that I made earlier? He liked eating rice. Like is a verb. Does it end with an S? Like, L-I-K-E. No, it didn't end with an S. Therefore, that like is plural. Now, what was the subject of my sentence? I said he. So he is the subject. He is a singular pronoun. So according to this first rule, the law of Concord, he, which is singular pronoun, should take singular verb immediately after it. So instead of like, the correct thing should have been what? Likes. L-I-K-E-S. So, can we now correct that sentence? He likes eating rice. Alright, let us move on to the second rule according to the law of Concord, subject-verb agreement. Are you ready? Now, the second rule here is talking about plural nouns or plural pronouns as subject of a sentence. According to the law of Concord, when your subject, if the subject of your sentence is a plural noun or a plural pronoun, please, the verb it will take immediately after it is also expected to be a plural lexical verb or a plural auxiliary verb. Yeah, auxiliary verb, okay, a plural primary auxiliary verb. And again, the idea is very simple and straightforward. If the subject of the sentence is plural, the verb it takes after it should also be what? Plural. So you have plural subject, plural verb. Once you know these two sets of rules, honestly, your sentence construction in terms of subject-verb agreement will always be correct. Now let us go back to those, nonsense sentence that I made. In fact, I said I deserve a knock for saying that. Alright? Now let us try to correct the other two sentences, following rule number 2, according to the law of Concord. One of the wrong sentences I made was, I love watching football. I think this is much like a little problem. But let me solve this problem once and for all for you, my dear friends. In English language, I is generally considered to be plural, even if that word I as a pronoun is referring to one person. But when we use it in a sentence, generally I is taken as plural. It is only in one case per se in English language that I know in which I can be used as singular. For example, I was. Once the verb after I is was. That is the only time you can consider I as singular. In other cases, I is taken as plural in English. So you could say, I have. Alright? I am. I love. I like. I cook. Don't add S there, please. Therefore, I loves watching football is wrong. Loves is a verb, a lexical verb, an action verb, a main verb. That loves, if you spell it, it ends with an S. Therefore, it is singular. It cannot appear immediately you use I as subject. I is plural. Therefore, the correct verb just after it should be what? Love. Hence, what I should have said in that sentence should have been, I love watching football. Once again, I love watching football. Alright, there was another mistake I made in the sentences I gave to help you understand how important this topic is. I said James and John is Jesus' disciples. James and John is. Oh no, I'm sorry to say, but if you go back to our previous classes under primary auxiliary verb, when I treated singular and plural primary auxiliary verb, you will see clearly that is singular primary auxiliary verb. Therefore, when I say James and John is talking about how many people? Is it just one or two? Yeah, James and John refer to two persons. Okay, which means that James and John simply is plural subject of a sentence. So if James and John is plural subject, then according to the second rule by the law of Concord, which verb should appear immediately after James and John? That should have been are, A-R-E. So the correct thing is James and John are Jesus' disciples. Let us now pick these rules one after the other and look at them with many examples. And now we have sentence examples to explain more the idea of the law of Concord, subject-verb agreement. By the time we consider these examples we have here on the board, then you would be able to make correct sentences respecting how your subject of a sentence should agree with the verb just after it. Are you ready? We are starting with rule 1, okay? Singular nouns or pronouns take singular main verb or singular helping verb immediately after them. Remember, I am still reminding you of this. The helping verb we are considering here are the primary helping verb. That's primary auxiliary verbs, okay? To help you remember this more, please, you can visit back our previous videos on primary auxiliary verbs. Example of sentences, okay? Let's see how we make use of subject of a sentence in agreement with the verb that it takes immediately after it. Number 1, he likes eating rice. Correct. Did you take note of this? Likes. He is the subject of the sentence. This he is singular pronoun. The verb it took after it is what? Likes. This likes is also singular verb because it ended with an S. Alright, he likes eating rice. Number 2, Ruby enjoys reading her books. Ruby enjoys reading her books. So you take note, Ruby is singular noun. Enjoys. Enjoys is a singular verb. Alright, singular lexical verb. Likes is also, okay, enjoys is singular lexical verb. Likes is also singular lexical verb. Take note of that. That is main verb. Alright, Ruby is singular because it's referring to one person. We talk about another example here, number 3. Susie does her assignment too. Susie there is singular noun. Does is a singular action, a singular lexical, a singular main verb. So you see how these are agreeing, okay? The subject agreeing with the verb just after it. Example number 4. She is traveling to Lagos. She is traveling to Lagos. She is singular subject of the sentence. It's a pronoun. What is the verb just after it? You notice that the verb is. This verb is a singular primary auxiliary verb. A singular primary helping verb, okay? She is traveling to Lagos. Not she are traveling to Lagos. Or forget about that. Let's move on to the next example, number 5. It was barking at Ali and Nebe. It was barking at Ali and Nebe. So let's look at the agreement here. It. It is singular pronoun. That was the subject of our sentence here, okay? Now the verb immediately after it is was. Was is the past tense of is. Was is a past tense primary auxiliary verb. Okay, so you see how they agree. Singular subject, which is either a noun or a pronoun. After it immediately you have your singular verb. The verb either lexical verb, that's main verb, or singular helping verb. I hope this is clear, right? So don't say he like eating rice. That is wrong. Ruby enjoy reading her books. That is wrong. Susie do her assignments too. Very wrong. She are traveling to Lagos. Extremely wrong. It were barking at Ali and Nebe. Then the person who made such sentence deserves to be flogged. Alright, so these are the correct sentences, okay? Following this rule. Singular noun or pronoun taking singular main verb or singular helping verb immediately after them. Let us move on to other examples here. This time around, rule number 2. Plural nouns or pronouns, okay? Taking plural verb That's plural main verbs or plural helping verb immediately after them. Example number 1. We bathe at least twice daily. So you notice this. We bathe. We is the subject of the sentence, and we is a plural pronoun. When you say we, you are referring to a group which you are part of, and that group is more than one person, okay? We bathe at least twice daily. The verb there, which is a lexical verb, a main verb, an action verb, that verb is bathe. Bathe is plural. You notice there is no S at the end. We bathe. Is that clear? Not we bates. No. You can say he bates. John bates. Musa bates. Because those are singular. But once the subject becomes plural, like you have here, we, it becomes bathe. No S at the end. Okay, so we move on to another example. I love watching soccer. Alright? I love, not I loves. Take note. I've explained that I, in most cases, generally in English, is used as plural subject of a sentence. It's a plural pronoun. We move on to the next one. You have the book with you. You, that reminds me, let me say this again. In English, generally, there is no exception. In English, generally, you is taken as plural. Take note. Remember, for I, there was an exception I gave you. If the verb following it is was, maybe I was, then we can think of I as singular. But generally, in other sentences, I is plural. But I gave you an exception. When you have was after it, you now start looking at it as singular. But for you, there is no exception. Generally, you is taken as what? Plural. Even if, as I'm talking to you, maybe only you seated watching this video lesson and learning. No matter that you are one person, I'm using you. But generally in English, that you is used or considered as plural. So you have the book with you. Have here is plural helping verb. Plural helping verb, okay? Alright, James and John are Jesus' disciples. James and John are Jesus' disciples. Is that okay? Alright, you notice that James and John, referring to two persons, the verb after them is are. Are is plural. Plural primary auxiliary verb. Sentence number 5. Kamsi and Enwe were GMAT 41's students. Kamsi and Enwe refer to two persons. So the verb that they take after them will be plural verb. So we have were. Were is the past tense plural form of are. We treated all those in our previous classes. Please visit back the video on lexical verbs and auxiliary verbs to remind yourself of all these present tense, past tense, singular and plural verbs. Okay? Alright, Kamsi and Ningwin were GMAT 41's students. So, don't say we bathe at least twice daily. It's very wrong. Don't say I love watching soccer. Very wrong. Don't say you has the book with you. If I catch you, I would flog you for saying that. You has the book with you. Has is singular. It cannot come immediately after you. You is taken generally as plural. So the correct thing is you have. James and John are Jesus' disciple. Don't say James and John is Jesus' disciple. That's wrong. If you use is there. Kamsi and Enwin were GMAT 41 students. Don't say Kamsi and Enwin was GMAT 41 students. That's wrong. That is all for today's class, and I want to believe that by watching this video over and over again, at least 2 to 3 times, you will no longer have much problem on the rules of subject-verb agreement, the law of Concord. But hey, wait, there's something I want to say, especially in those sentences that have and as a conjunction between them. James and John, Kamsi and Emwin. The conjunction here is and. And we say for that reason, because this is referring to, more than one person, is plural. So the verb they will take is going to be a plural verb. What if the conjunction is or? Maybe James or John, Kamsi or Emwin. What will happen to the verb after them? Don't worry. We are going to have a fun class on that. Is that okay? And you're going to see what you need to know. Just a little adjustment now. If the conjunction you have there is or, James or John, Kamsi or Emwin, you or Peter. Okay? So let us see what happens in that case. That means the fun class, you're going to enjoy it. But for now, what we have treated so far, please make sure you watch the video over and over again and read your notes. Make sentences on them. You will take your quiz much later in the day.